Prepare yourselves, ladies.
Welcome everyone to this episode of Commander Spotlight featuring Fullmetal. Fullmetal was teased back in November of 2017 and is finally being offered for the first time in this brand new event, Commanders Assemble. So for the Commanders Assemble event, in order to get Fullmetal, you have to release 250 commanders, which puts his price tag at around 175,000 gold, but the enter permits that you get along the way do make this endeavor slightly cheaper, not by much, but it's something. If you're watching this after the event is over, they will definitely make him available once again in the future, possibly through other events, and possibly at a cheaper price. So let's start off with the skills. The first skill we have is Ethereal Strike. 30% chance to trigger before actions, attack one column of enemies except for target, damage scales at 3% per level, so at 60% you see 180% damage to that back row tile. This skill is essentially an infantry awakening with a significantly improved scaling ratio. Then we have Steam Cannon with a 60% chance to skill trigger. Until the next action, all enemy dodge and crit will decrease by 1%. So once this skill triggers, you instantly debuff all enemy tiles. With this skill, Fullmetal joins the 60% trigger club along with Galileo. Now this combination of skills is very exciting to see, and it fosters a unique and very powerful playstyle that the Walker class has been lacking for quite some time. Fullmetal's abilities give him an all-out aggressive playstyle that requires all 6 slots with troops to get the most desirable outcome. But, theoretically speaking, the best way to build this commander will be with maximum damage while incorporating highly defensive gear for maximum survival. Dodge will work fine for you in the early game, but this commander will thrive with defensive stats in the late game, especially with high tier units. We'll be taking a close look at the damage values regarding Ethereal Strike in just a moment, but before that, we need to talk about Steam Cannon and why this skill is such a huge deal. At level 60, with a 60% skill trigger rate, Steam Cannon can instantly cripple all enemy troops with 2 back-to-back triggers in a few different ways. So starting with the dodge debuff, you can completely disregard accuracy stats in your gear and run more attack or crit chance or crit damage for that matter for maximum damage. Against infantry especially, all you will need is 2 triggers of Steam Cannon, and you will easily land a hit without any accuracy stats in your gear, especially when you consider the inherent accuracy stats that walkers have. The dodge debuff won't help you much against the airship, but the crit debuff definitely will. So let's talk about that. So airships are known for their ludicrous amounts of damage, and that is mostly due to their inherent crit chance from their research. Airships therefore can avoid crit chance in their gear and can reliably crit, allowing them to apply their crit damage stat from, let's say, Maduel's, Eye of Abyss, or Destruction, with very little crit chance from their equipment. Steam Cannon, however, provides a built-in Capricorn 4 set, and it can drastically reduce an airship's damage dealt to you by eliminating their crit multiplier from their damage, and all they'll be dealing to you, the only damage they'll be dealing to you would be based on their flat attack stat, without that crit multiplier. In this situation, Fullmetal can stack high amounts of defense and can sustain significantly more hits than previously possible, while dealing considerable amounts of damage in return with Ethereal Strike. This crit debuff can also cripple an infantry's crit amplified damage to you as well. Now, of course, tier suppression, strength and weaken effect, and resistance weaken effect can sway any situation no matter what the commander matchup is. But with enough leadership and skill investment, I can see Fullmetal being the face of the Walker class for some time. With all that said, I think Fullmetal definitely qualifies as a top tier Walker commander. So let's talk about gear. For jewelry pieces, Devastation Helmet is a must. You need that damage. Weapons, any combination of Apocalyptors or Destruction for maximum damage. Now, if you want to hit as hard as Mike Tyson, you can throw in a Titan in there, maybe even 2 Titans. But you can experiment with Titan along with a Destruction for that crit damage, but 2 Titans will also work great. But of course, you sacrifice the crit damage stat that you get from Distraction. Further research is warranted. For chest, Armor of the Tyrant will be the most ideal chest piece for Fullmetal to stack that defense. Of course, you can have some substitutes like Black Knight, Body of Phoenix, etc. For legs, you can either go Maduel's Treasure for more damage, or you can go Fabrication. Of course, there's a trade-off between the two, but I highly recommend Fabrication just so you get those defensive stats. Obviously, you can mix in some Strength and Weaken effect, you can mix in some Resistance Weaken effect, or even Tear Suppression to minimize losses in situations that you know you're heading into. For jewel sets, I would highly recommend Power of Taurus. For the 4-set ability, again, high damage, high defensive playstyle. You can also stack Leo 4-set for that additional attack that ignores 60% defense buffs. Again, just more damage, more penetration there. If those are not available to you, I recommend Gemini as well. Or you can do Light of Libra for the counterattack. Now we're going to jump into some replays to show the Ethereal Strike and the Steam Cannon in action. And we're going to try and track the values. And I've seen a lot of different replays, and the math seems to be all over the place when you compare values while using regular T8 or below units versus using the advanced units. The text here reads that the damage is 3%. Now, some situations that I've seen make it seem like it's 3% damage of your normal damage. In other words, it's 3% of your normal damage, while other situations have shown that it may seem to be an additional 3% of your damage on top of your normal damage. There could be a lot of hidden factors that I'm not considering, such as the inherent strength and weaken effect or resistance weaken effect when certain units fight each other, especially when you throw that into the context of advanced troops. Their hybrid nature just makes it a little more difficult to track the damage values when they fight both regular T8 and below units versus when it's advanced units versus advanced units. But all in all, Ethereal Strike is a better trigger rate than your typical 20% trigger rate, and the scaling ratio is one of the best in the game. Better yet, in the Walker class. Here we have a replay submitted by Justin from the line chat. Justin, thank you so much for sharing all the information you have so far with us. I appreciate it. So here Justin has T9 Genesis Airship, who are airship main class with the subclass of Walker. Now we're gonna track the damage, and we're gonna see what the percentage damage increase goes to in that back tile. Keep in mind that his skill, his Ethereal Strike skill, is at level 33. So we should expect a 99% damage increase to the back tile versus the front tile. So let's play let's start the replay, and we'll see what happens. We have the Walker, Awakening, Ethereal Strike, Steam Cannon, debuff. Boom, we go around 10 million damage to 16 million damage. So that's about a 66% increase. Not quite 99%, but maybe that's the deviation that we have to consider. Maybe there's a lot of things we're not taking into account, but just based off of the text, it does say that damage will be 33% of damage per level, which in this case, 33 times 3, 99%. Here we have another replay submitted by Justin. Again, Justin, thank you very much. And we're going to see that if we track the values For the damage amplification to the backline from Ethereal Strike, again, we expect a 99% increase from the level 33 skill. So let's take a look. Ethereal Strike, Steam Cannon debuff. Boom, we go from 39 mil to 59 mil. So that's about a 51% increase. Again, not 99%. So there's something going on there. Maybe it has to do with his gear, something we're not taking into account. But as I mentioned before, it is a little difficult to track those values from damage, especially when you consider the matchup PvE versus PvP. So again, further research is warranted. But Fullmetal is still in his early stages of investigation, and I'm sure we will learn more about him as we go along the way. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe to the channel to get notified when my videos drop. Add me online and join the community discussion. I'll include the information and all that down below. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Later.